I know what you're thinking. Where's Cam? Well, she actually got snapped away. I destroyed the reality we were living in, and she is no longer here, so it's just me. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to yet another WandaVision video. The season's over. Done. By the way, this video will have spoilers probably, so if you've not seen the episodes of WandaVision, heads up. With that being said, I'm going to sit here and rank all 9 episodes from my least favorite to my favorite. Now, overall, I did enjoy WandaVision. It was exciting to look forward to every week. Overall, though, I think the show is a little overhyped. But coming in at number 9 for me is going to be episode 1, filmed before a live studio audience. Now, this episode, it was a 50s sitcom black and white, so that right there is just less compelling to me, and nothing really significant happens till the very end when it zooms out and we see that someone is watching on a TV screen this WandaVision show, so that the TV show is in a reality. That's what we find out. It did not need to be its own standalone episode. It could have been combined with my number 8, which is episode 2, Don't Touch That Dial. Now, I think episode 1 and 2 should have been combined, probably by a commercial break, and I've said that since I saw them. There was no need to separate the two, and I think that the show really, its fault was not having great pacing. I think they should have made every episode 40 to 50 minutes and only had like 6 episodes. It would have just been more interesting. There was no need to drag out these early sitcom episodes, in my opinion. In this episode, we get that sitcom plot where Vision swallows the gum. It's funny. You see a moment where Dottie is there and she cuts her hand, but Jimmy Woo's voice comes over on the radio, so outside contact is made. And as well, in this episode, we see the beekeeper, who we never see again, by the way, but we see the beekeeper enter the Westview reality, and Wanda says no, and there's a little glitch and it rewinds. So a lot of crazy stuff does happen in this episode to start to put things in motion for what is going to happen later and kind of try and see the big picture. But overall, again, episodes 1 and 2 probably should have been combined. They're the weakest by far. But coming in at number 7 for me is going to be, now this might be a hot take, I don't know, episode 6, the all-new Halloween Spooktacular. Massive disappointment this episode was. I mean, it was heavily marketed leading into the show. They showed so many promotional shots from this that they set themselves up for failure, honestly, because everyone's expectations for the Halloween episode were so high. It was like the main marketing point, and the only significant thing that happened in this episode is the expansion of the hex a little bit. It showed how strong Wanda was by expanding the hex. It ended so abruptly, I'm still salty about it. It literally showed her eyes, they were red, and then it just said, please stand by. Why? I'm not sure. It just did that unnecessarily. We get a little more backstory on the fake Pietro, who turns out to be someone else we'll talk about in the end. His character, again, is just kind of questioning Wanda throughout, so there's a little bit of mystery. It's cool to see the kids use their powers as well. But overall, the episode just fell flat. It, again, could have been combined with another episode. I don't know why some of these episodes got their own episode, if that makes any sense. Coming in at number 6 for me is going to be episode 3, Now in Color. I dug this episode. It was one of the better ones because early on, we were still theorizing and like enjoying them more for what they were. So episode 3, we get the birth of Tommy and Billy, which is a crazy thing that happens. And at the very end, we see a confrontation between Monica and Wanda, and it goes down. That right there was one of the most intense moments in the early episodes. It was just great to see. I loved that we were finally getting some tension. And then we also get some mystery with Herb. I always want to say Herb and Agnes at the time, as Vision's kind of questioning the reality. So that's where there's sort of a turn in the show, I think, is episode 3. But I honestly think that it should have been combined with episode 4, but we'll talk about that later. So coming in at number 5 for me is going to be episode 7, Breaking the Fourth Wall. Now, this is the Office-themed episode, and the first 15-20 minutes of this are just Vision and Darcy kind of walking around Westview, trying to be funny, maybe falling flat at times, in my opinion. And then in this episode as well, we see at the very end that it was Agatha all along. That's a big reveal of the episode. That is a bop. Everyone knows it's a certified bop of 2021. You can't deny it. It ended a little too abruptly for me. And I know that that might shock you, but the review was cool, but I wish we got a 5-10 minutes more. It's like they finally hook you in after about 20 minutes of just kind of meandering nonsense, and then it just ended so abruptly and it sucked you right out of it. So that's unfortunate. That's just how I feel about a lot of the episodes of WandaVision. But that's what my number 5 is. Coming in at number 4 is going to be episode 8, Previously On. The title's fitting because the 30 minutes of this episode is a flashback, and there was no progression of the plot after the cliffhanger ending of episode 7 with Agatha all along. So, is it unfortunate? Absolutely, because I thought that, truthfully, it was going to pick up with some crazy stuff going down. We actually open with Agatha back in the Salem Witch Trials, which was awesome. I liked that, don't get me wrong. But most of the episode, we see events from Wanda's perspective that were already portrayed through words in the MCU. We already knew her parents died and how they died, so they spent a lot of time showing that. They really emphasized the importance of the sitcom. Don't get me wrong, that's a very important aspect for sure. I just think that it was way too drawn out, and then we see how she enhances her powers through the Mind Stone because she has been a witch all along, but they're enhanced by the Mind Stone. That was a cool scene, a little too drawn out. I thought we were going to get an Aaron Taylor Johnson cameo. Truthfully, we didn't, and I wasn't upset by that. But we should have probably got one. It was the perfect opportunity. Anyway, and then of course we get this scene of Wanda and Vision in the Civil War time period, which is heartfelt. It's very well written, but like 35 minutes of this episode is all flashback, and I wanted progression. So that by the time the episode ends and we see Wanda and Agatha facing off, and Agatha calls Wanda the Scarlet Witch, it's badass. It gets you hype. Cut to the credits. Very unfortunate. A lot of the episodes didn't know when to end, in my opinion. Like, end on a cliffhanger, but give us a little every episode. And yes, we did see how the Hex reality was formed, which was cool, but again, how else would it have been formed, you know? Everyone already kind of knew Wanda was gonna use chaos magic to form it. It's not like it was anything new. It was an emotional scene, but again, a lot of this show was just a little underwhelming in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. Coming in at number 3, we're up to the top 3 now. Number 3 for me is going to be We Interrupt This Program, which is episode 4. Now, this is the first episode from Monica's perspective, essentially, and it's outside of the reality, which is why I liked it so much. I watched this episode 4 or 5 times. One of my most rewatched episodes. It opens with the blip undoing, so we see Monica get snapped back to reality. We find out her mother died, and it already set her up to be a crucial character moving forward in the MCU, and one of the most likable characters in this show, honestly. I might do a character ranking with Cam, so stay tuned for that. But it cements her as one of the best in the show. We see Darcy and Jimmy Woo come in, Hayward is introduced, and you find out more about this reality from the outside, which is what I really dug about it. And the thing this episode does is it essentially summarizes the first 3 episodes of the show, making them unnecessary to rewatch. You could literally just watch episode 4 of WandaVision and skip the first 3. That's what I'll do if I ever decide to rewatch WandaVision, honestly. But still, like, I like this episode so much because it showed us outside perspective. And then we see Monica, Geraldine at the time, get launched out of Westview by Wanda. And that's the first time we really see Wanda use her powers in the show, at least the way they were intended to be used. So that was crazy. I really dug it, and it had a cool Jimi Hendrix song at the end. So I dug episode 4. It was one of the best before the show started to decline, which was after episode 5, in my opinion, which, speaking of episode 5, my number 2 is actually episode 5, called On a Very Special Episode. This was the most hype I had been all season, honestly. You get the Evan Peters reveal at the very end. We don't know who he is at the time, so we assume it's Pietro, which is crazy. We all think it's maybe the Fox X-Men. We really don't know, and it was a wild ending. But you get a great scene between Vision and Wanda of them really going at it, and he says, "You don't get to make that decision for me, Wanda." It was like, oh my god, he's going in. Their acting was top-notch in that episode. It made it even more dramatic because the credits were rolling over them talking, which enhanced that argument scene. But earlier in the episode, we see Wanda leave the Hex, and she is, like, not playing around. She has her accent back. She's using her powers to take over the minds of these people. She has the drone, and she's like, you stay out of here. This is my reality. I don't want anything to do with you guys. So it was a wild episode. A lot went down. I was a big fan of this one, and we get to see the kids use their powers more too, and start to grow and age into who they would become throughout the rest of the show. So this is one of the best, in my opinion. Ended perfectly with a cliffhanger on a joke, but it like gave us just enough information, in my opinion. So this episode's a banger. Really dug it. But coming in at number 1 for me is going to be the series finale, episode 9. And the reason it's number 1 is just because it gave us the most action, and it was the most entertaining from start to finish. Right from the start, it opens with an action sequence as you've got Agatha v. Wanda. White Vision shows up. A lot of that action goes down. So it was very intense throughout. You get some great scenes of White Vision and Vision talking. And it was cool to see Agatha versus Wanda in the final fight. However, I was a little disappointed with the finality of Pietro slash fake Pietro slash Ralph Boner. Yep, that's his name, Ralph Boner. I'm not really satisfied with the way they brought him in. It's almost like, I get what they were going for because they wanted to troll us essentially, but it bothered me and I'm not really crazy about it. And then again, I was a little disappointed with the fact that once the show ends, once this episode ends, it doesn't really have any weight to the actual movies. It all is in this small little pocket reality. So the big takeaway is Wanda gained power. She has her new suit, which was so sick, don't get me wrong. But the main takeaway of the show is she now is going to train, as we see in the second post-credit scene, to continue to kind of build her powers and become more powerful, which is cool, but like that doesn't really play into the overall MCU too much in my opinion. And I've never been a massive WandaVision fan, like I said, so to me the show just wasn't as compelling as to some others. We saw Vision die a 3rd time, and a lot of people were talking about how great the scene was. Yeah, but we've seen Vision die, the real Vision die, and that was a heartbreaking scene because Wanda had to kill him and then watch him get killed again as Thanos used a time stone to redo it. This one, it's like, okay, this is a Vision that is synthetically created by you, Wanda, and there's another Vision out there who has his memory now in White Vision. They're just going to replace him again. Like, are they going to keep doing this Loki thing with Vision? It would annoy me if they did. And then again, it's just like, you have this show, and almost every MCU project has a cameo of sorts. I was expecting Doctor Strange, most people were, and I even said before the episode, I think we'll see him in a post-credit scene. I was shocked we didn't see him in a post-credit scene. Like, you would think everyone was saying, oh, this leads into Doctor Strange 2. Does it really? Was this all made up? Like, how much is this actually going to lead into Doctor Strange 2? It really didn't if you think about it, so maybe people just make things up online. I don't know, it's annoying, but either way, this was the best episode of the show in my opinion. I liked the Monica post-credit scene as you see a scroll, and you realize that's probably setting up Secret Invasion, or at least Captain Marvel 2, as Monica's going to go meet up with Talos and Nick Fury likely, and Monica's the best character in the show in my opinion, her and Jimmy Woo, so I hope we see more of them down the road. We lose Billy, Tommy, Vision, Agatha basically gets dismantled, and she's kind of sidelined. I don't know if we'll even see her again. It'd be a shame if we don't. It would be a waste of a villain in my opinion, but like I said, this episode had the most action sequences. It was the most entertaining. It gave us some answers, not all answers, so that's why it's my favorite of the show. But if I rewatch WandaVision, I'll probably just rewatch maybe episodes 4, 5, and 9. I don't think I'll rewatch them all just because there's no need to go back to those wasted sitcom filler episodes that don't really have any weight. I think it's very enjoyable, entertaining, but I think it's extremely overhyped online just because we haven't had Marvel content in some time. I feel like a lot of people are just like, oh, it's the best thing ever. And if you think that, that's totally cool. I'm not attacking you. It's just, I feel like there's a group of people who love it so much that the people who don't like it, they're trying to attack, and that's not cool in my opinion. They're like, oh, you just don't get it, you're just disappointed expectations. In life, we have expectations for everything. If you hear the ice cream truck and you're like, oh, I want to go get a cookies and cream ice cream cone, that's my favorite, and they don't have it, you're going to be disappointed. It's normal to have expectations for anything, especially in Marvel, especially in Star Wars, coming off The Mandalorian, which had a ton of fan service blended with great storytelling, coming off literally almost every MCU project which has a cameo of sorts, whether it's a post-credit scene or movie. We got none of that in WandaVision, and it's a shame because this show, as of now, does not have any real bearing or weight to the rest of the MCU, and that's why I'm a little disappointed. Now, I know Feige has said that this show is not going to have too much impact on the movie because not everyone can have Disney Plus, which I totally understand, but it raises concern for me moving forward with future Disney Plus shows for Marvel. Like, if they aren't going to connect to the movies, you know, what are we doing? What's the point of them? I hope that the rest of them deliver. I'm really excited for the Falcon Winter Soldier. I think I'm going to dig that one quite a bit. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on all the 9 episodes of WandaVision and my ranking. Definitely hit the like button, comment your thoughts down below on your ranking and all that good stuff. Do you guys love the finale? Did you think the show was lackluster? I want to hear all that and more. Also, hello there, this is my Star Wars shirt from my merch store. Feel free to check that out. And if you haven't subscribed, it would mean the world. Definitely hit that button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.